Okay, so this next page is going to be called Features of a Function. And what I want you to do is on your notebook, I want you to write closed dot is either a inequality with a half equal sign or square brackets. Okay. Open dot is an inequality without an equal sign or round brackets. An arrow you're going to use with an inequality without an equal sign or round brackets. And this is what infinities are going to go with those arrows. So again, we're going to talk about those more. Part of the function or part of that line, you'll use an inequality with a bracket or square brackets. A special case, closed dots or lines always beat open dots, okay, or arrows, and that's kind of depending, so just keep that in mind. This is dependable, but these are very important. What you're going to do is first write out what a domain is. So a domain is all x values of a function, and this goes from left to right, like how you read graphs. A range is all y values of functions, and that's bottom to top. So that's all the definitions we're going to do. We are going to look at this first page all together. So let's start with domain, because that's the easiest. So domains, left to right, because you're looking at x values. So on the leftist part of this graph, so the farthest left I can go, I have an open dot. So I'm just going to put open, and it's open on that x value of -4. So it's an open -4, okay? So I'm gonna just do that. And then on the right side, we have a closed dot, right? Because this is as far right as I can go. We have a closed dot at 3. So I'm gonna put closed at 3, okay? So the inequality for this is gonna start with -4, adjust a bracket, or I'm sorry, just the inequality, no half equal sign because it's open, an x value because we're talking about x's. That's what domain is all about. Domain is all about x's. And then it's a closed dot at 3, so I'm going to do an inequality with a half equal sign and then end with a 3. The number you start with, the number you end with, and then the inequalities depending on what type of open dot, closed dot, line, or arrow. For the interval, since it's open, you're going to use a round bracket and a -4, and then just a comma, and then you're closed at 3, so you're going to have that 3 and end with a square bracket. So that's what these meant. Closed dot, this is the type of bracket or inequality. Open dot, type of bracket or inequality. Same with arrows and lines. All right, so now we're going to talk about range. So range is all about y, okay? So bottom. So the most bottom of the graph is this guy right here, okay? It's right here. It's a line. It's part of that function, and it's at that y value of -2, right? Y values. That's why we start at the bottom, because this is the bottom. The lower you go, the more negative it is, the smaller the number. Top. The toppest this graph goes is right here at this this open dot of 3. So we have open at 3. That's the highest we can get. So let's write out the inequality. If it's part of the line, we're going to have that -2, a mouth with a line with that half equal sign. But this time we're going to write y instead of x. And then the open at 3, so just the mouth and the 3. All right. For interval, it'll be square with a -2, comma, 3, and it'll be open, okay? So if you have the mouth with the line, it'll be a square bracket. Just the mouth, it'll be a round bracket, okay? Next up, domain. The leftist we can go is an arrow, and all I'm gonna write is arrow. If you have an arrow, that's all you need to write. The rightist we go also ends with an arrow. So we have 2 arrows. So that means we're going to go from negative to infinity, just a mouth, x value, just mouth, to positive infinity. If it ends in arrows, those are infinities, and they will always have just the mouth. When you write it as an interval, it's negative infinity to infinity. And again, round brackets if you got just mouths. Range, bottom to top. So at the bottom here, this is the most bottom we can go, right? It ends at this flat type of line. And because it ends at this flat type of line, even though there's an arrow going to that left area, it's not going any lower than this 3. So this is where the line beats out an arrow. This is the only type of examples if it's flat like this, or if it's straight up and down. If it curves in any type of way, the arrow is gonna win. So it's a line at -3, and then up here, same type of situation happening. It's a line at that +3. So our inequality is gonna go -3, mouth with a half equal sign, y, mouth with a half equal sign, 3, and then we're gonna have square brackets for both of these 3's. Okay. Next one. The leftest we can go is a closed dot at -4. So it's gonna be a closed -4. The rightest we can go is an arrow. So when I write the inequality, it goes -4, mouth with a line, x, just a mouth, to infinity, because it's going to the left positive. I'm sorry, to the right, and those are all positive. Good gravy. So because of that, my interval is going to be -4, comma, infinity, square bracket with a -4, round bracket with infinities. Range. The lowest we can go is that arrow, because it keeps going, right? And then the highest we can go is right here at this 2. And it's a line and a closed dot, so it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to put a line, and it's at that 2. So that means we're going to go -infinity, arrow, and this is a -infinity because it's at the bottom. It's pointing down when we're talking about range, but with domain, we're thinking about going to the right, so this is going down and to the right. So this arrow is positive infinity, but when we're talking about range, it's going down, so that's -infinity. Y, mouth with a line for that 2, because that is what it is. Then we have round bracket -infinity to 2 with the square bracket. Last one, we'll go super fast. On the left, we have an arrow. On the right, we have an open dot at 3. So that means we're going to go from -infinity to 3, open mouth with a half equal sign, round bracket infinity, 3, square bracket. Range starts at the bottom. At the bottom, we have an open dot at -3, so this is an open -3. At the top, the toppest it is an arrow going up forever and ever, so we got an arrow. So we're going to have a boo-boo. This is going to be just a mouth, and this will be round because it's open. Caught myself. All right, open dot at -3, so we have -3, mouth, y, mouth, infinity, because that arrow is going up, making it positive. Here it's going to the left, which makes it negative. So it does 2 directionals. Be careful with that. Then we have round bracket -3, comma, infinity, round bracket. There you go. All right, caught my mistake. Thank you for checking. All right, that's the end of this video. Please go ahead and get started on whatever you need to get started on.